All right. You're back again. Two videos in one day. Incredible. What am I, a content creator or something? All right. So as soon as I posted that last guide, it looks like these were released and I had a chance to look at them. Sorry to say, but I think they are bait at first glance, but let's go into it a little deeper. Um, 50% increased effective offerings, maybe could be some use, but it kills everything as soon as the duration expires, so that's a no-go. Um, and we put offerings on ourselves, so I think that would just kill you immediately as well. Uh, so we're gonna not look at that one much further. 25% increased damage, 35% increased damage if they're on low life. Cannot be killed, but die 6 seconds. Probably not much there that I'd be willing to sacrifice the main ascendancy for. But we'll look at the star of the show, the one I keep seeing people rage about, and that is the 12% increased defenses per raised specter. Um, it just doesn't really work out, I don't think. But I want to go a little deeper and see if that is the case. I'm actually more excited about the 2% increased attack and cast speed per summoned Raging Spirit. And the only use case I can see for this would be going through the early game mapping phase and combining Spiritual Command with all the Raging Spirits that you're summoning. You're going to have, if you can keep all of your Raging Spirits up, you're going to have a 40% increased shield charge speed through the attack speed because of the Spiritual Command here, which is pretty insane and would speed up your progression through the maps quite a bit. But as far as the 12% increased defenses per race specter go, my initial thoughts are one, the build doesn't really die. And especially considering that the end game is nerfed such a significant amount. I mean, for one, they got rid of all of the like hyper challenging farms, basically, being Blight, that being Alva, and Abyss wasn't super challenging, but in combination with all the risk scarabs, it became challenging. And now it's going to be down to just one risk scarab, which the risk scarab is still strong. It's going to be meta in every single strategy. You're still going to want to get a free two modifiers. Still very good. If anything, I would just say it's balanced now. But the maps will be significantly easier than they were last league, mostly due to the increased effect nerfs, which is going to completely nerf all of our loot as well as the difficulty of the endgame content. So in previous leagues, we have a 26k Fizz max hit, which is a very large max hit. There's not really too much in the game that can mess with you with that. And then you also have a 95,000 LE max hit, which is another massive max hit. There's really just isn't much in the game that kills you at 8,400 ES. So I don't really feel the need to get more global defenses in it in the build, especially when you consider the cost and you also consider the nerf to the end game. What was already tanky is going to become even more tanky due to the increased effect, and then what would we sacrifice in order to fit this in is the big question, and I just don't really see what it would be. So it states that you have to give up some ascendancy points in order to be able to go into this global defense. So we'll take a look. If you were to give this up, you lose 30% damage as well as 30% to elemental resistance. If you are following my version of the Wretched Defilers, as you can see here, there's just not a lot of room for resistances. Like, it's actually incredibly tight to the point where you pretty much need a tier 1 resist or attribute roll on your large clusters a lot of the times, and sometimes even some on the small clusters as well. There's just not a lot of wiggle room to give up that much resist. And then you also lose the increased attack and cast speed, which we are running quite a few auras. So again, that would end up nerfing your Spiritual Command. So you just start moving around quite a bit slower because your shield charge would take a pretty big hit to that. So I don't think that one's really viable, to be honest. Bone Barrier, the entire build is kind of based around the Energy Shield Leech from the Bone Barrier skill. So the only way I could really see giving this up would be if you went really, really heavy into the regen. And when you're in the maxed out version of this, again, everything's kind of tight, so I don't know how much regen you could really fit onto the boots, the gloves. It's really all you could get it on. Maybe you could do like a regen ring, I guess, if you wanted to give up something like Energy Shield. But yeah, it would be pretty tight to fit in. And if you were to do something like that, the problem is the T17 map mods and T16 map mods become a little bit more of an annoyance. Now, if you were to go that route, obviously, cannot regen maps are now no longer runnable. While like high regen builds do feel really good starting out, I try to get out of them ASAP because yeah, that becomes a dead map for you if you roll cannot regen. And you might say, well, you get to trade that out for players have reduced energy shield leech from this, but that's not actually true because this mod is just a great mod for us. It's a free mod. Since the specters are leeching life for us or energy shield, um, this mod doesn't do anything. We still completely leech as normal, even when this mod is on the map. It does not affect the specters. Aside from that, minions also gain 40% of their maximum life as energy shield. Look, if you just plan to run tier 16s, well, you wouldn't need a ton of energy shield anyways. But when you're running like the high end content in the game, minion survivability is something that you have to take into consideration, right? That's why we run like this Indomitable Army, minion defense mastery. It will be better next league because your self specters will resummon themselves, but that you can still lose maps if your specters get wiped in a single map, right? Like you'd have to still go back and summon all your stuff, or you'd just be running the map at like half damage. So you do have to factor in minion survivability, and 40% maximum life is yes, it's quite a bit. All in all, it just doesn't like it's not wowing me enough to want to rebuild the build around it and give up 10% fizz reduction, all the energy shield for the minions, as well as what is far far more effective as a recovery tool than energy shield regen would be. This leech is incredibly potent. I mean, it's like almost impossible to die so long as your minions are attacking, and your minions are always attacking with wretched defilers. So lastly, that leaves us with Mistress of Sacrifice. Of all the things, I think this is the one that I would probably give up. My only concern with it is if you wanted to run a trigger wand, I don't think the trigger wand would have 100% uptime anymore because you lose the increased skill effect duration, and you also lose how much is it? It's quite a bit of block, like 30% or something. 28% base, so you lose 30% spell and 30% um, physical block, which is a lot. I kind of have a philosophy when I play PoE, and that is I would rather not take the damage than have the ability to regain the damage or regenerate the damage taken, if that makes sense. Like it's better to mitigate than to regenerate, so to speak. So right now the build is currently running 8400 energy shield if we go into the Eyes of the Great Wolf Talisman, and I'm not entirely sure how much global defenses you could get, but let's just say we add 100 to it. We go from 8400 to looks like we gain 2400. Um, so you take 30% more damage from all fizz and block, and you gain what is that 20% more HP. I mean, the only way I would ever take it is if I was dying to one shots, in which case you need to get your energy shield pool up high enough to where you can take that hit, and there might be a use case scenario. But if I'm not dying to those one hits, then I would rather just block more damage than be able to have to take more damage, if that makes sense. I don't know exactly. I guess you could give up the Wraith Lord for the new helmet potentially. I know some people were talking about it last league, saying that it was good. You can get a lot of specters. I think I ran the numbers on it last league. I don't quite remember, but I think it's worse damage. You're getting so much cast speed, flat damage, minions deal extra damage. Like you get a lot from these four ghastly eye jewels, and then on top of +2 to all minion skills. I think it's a damage loss by quite a bit to go for that other helmet, but you might want to POB that yourself. I'm probably not going to do it. Like I said, I'm not even playing this build this league. I'm just sharing some information about what I see. I think I'm still pretty set on the Ellie Blade Vortex, although I'm not completely set. I may just change my mind last minute and go for Wretched Defilers again. The league feels like it's not going to be a very map blasty build, so it might be a bad league to league start Blade Vortex. I have a feeling. I don't know. It's going to depend on how the breach ends up working out. The whole league is like relying on it because if breach isn't like something that can hold your attention for a month, then you're going to finish all the breach stuff, and then all the other farms are going to be nerfed into the ground, uh, and the league's going to be over. At least that's how I feel. But we'll see how it goes. But yeah, those are my thoughts on it. I don't think it's going to be that great. It may be nice very early on if you can get the ascendancy early on to kind of help bridge the gap in the build. But once you're looking at like full build, I think it's a bad choice. But it is just a couple ascendancy points, so you can always get it and you can try it and see if it feels better. And if it does, then run it. And if it doesn't, then don't. But I'm not overly excited for it. It's I'd rather see damage than defenses on the build personally.